Today on Larry King Now, the king of the nerds, Chris Hardwick.
When I stopped trying to make the entertainment business happy and just pursue things that actually meant something to me, that's when everything changed. I podcasted my dad the year before he died, and it was the single most important thing that I've ever done in my relationship with my dad, and now I have it.
On the Talking Dead's popularity.
It's building a community around this experience that people have every Sunday night. It's part of their ritual, and we kind of help them get back into their lives. We're therapy.
Plus,
the trick is you always just, when you're juggling 3, you always just want to keep 1 in the air. You know, you can do a flourish. When you're juggling 5, you want to try it now? Okay, great. There you go.
Oh, you got to keep 1 in the air.
That's all you got to do is just keep 1 in the air. Well, technically that was 1 in the air.
That's all next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. Our guest is Chris Hardwick, a return visit. We welcome back the comedian, podcaster, television host, and CEO of Nerdist Industries. His popular web series, All-Star Comedy Bowling, just picked up by AMC, debuts in 2015. He hosts the hit after show, The Talking Dead, and that airs Sundays after new episodes of The Walking Dead on AMC. And because he doesn't have enough jobs, he also hosts Comedy Central's At Midnight. That's Monday through Thursday at 12 a.m. Since last we spoke, you've added At Midnight.
We did, yes.
What happens at midnight?
Well, we created what's essentially a comedy game show. It's sort of a panel. A lot of shows like this exist in England, but we don't have any here. But it's a game show format with 3 comedians, and all of our source material is stuff we find on, from the internet, basically. And that's it. It's just internet.
You show it and they comment?
Yeah, we show stuff and put them in games and competitions, and then...
Who came up with this idea? Did you get it from England, the idea?
No, it was... there was a company called Serious Business. They had originally come up with a pilot that was all Twitter-based. And I did another pilot for Comedy Central, and at the same time, and Comedy Central said, well, we don't want to pick up your show, but would you want to come help redevelop this other show and host it and come on as an executive producer? So we did. We redeveloped the show.
I understand you also take the show on the road as an act?
We do, yeah. We did it at the Comedy Festival in Florida, and we just did one in Nashville, and we're going to do it at Comic-Con. It's a great... We prepped the show all last year at I have a theater space, and we prepped it live.
Now, Nerdist has really blown up since you first started. You started it in 2008, so it's like 7 years now.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
How do you account for its success?
I don't know. I mean, it just started as a passion project. If anything, I guess it was just when I stopped trying to make the entertainment business happy and just pursue things that actually meant something to me, that's when everything changed.
The production company behind The Dark Knight bought the Nerdist?
Legendary Entertainment. Yeah, they're a studio. They're a big movie studio now, and they...
Well, so you're a zillionaire now.
I don't know if I'm a zillionaire, but they've given us this sort of the infrastructure that we needed. This is going to sound like boring, crappy business talk. They've given us the infrastructure we needed to scale up and more resources to be able to do all the different things that we want to do.
Let's talk about The Talking Dead.
Okay.
That follows The Walking Dead, right?
Yes, sir.
How did that come about?
Well, that was a company that was doing the show with Andy Cohen, Watch What Happens, after the Housewives thing, and I guess they just thought, I wonder if there's something, if people would want to have a conversation after a show like The Walking Dead, because there's a rabid fanaticism behind that show, and
7.3 million viewers on there.
I know, that's crazy. I knew it would do okay, but I didn't know it would do that. It's building a community around this experience that people have every Sunday night. It's part of their ritual, and we kind of help them get back into their lives. We're therapy.
Tell me about All-Star Celebrity Bowling. That was picked up for TV on AMC. How did that come? Because of your father?
Because of my dad, yeah.
Great bowler, your father
my
passed
father,
away.
Billy Hardwick, he passed away last year. The thing that we do at Nerdist is we allow people to make stuff that they're passionate about. And I think that lies the secret sauce behind what a nerd is. And I love bowling. It's my family business. I mean, it was my family business, and so I wanted...
Where is the bowling? There's still bowling alley there.
Yeah, my dad's still... The bowling alley's still there in Memphis, Tennessee. I've been there 31 years, 32 years. And so I wanted to do this show that sort of highlighted what it's like to actually go bowling with your friends, as opposed to, you know, what you see now, which is professional
So
bowling.
these are famous people bowling?
Yeah, so in the pilot, we bowled against the Mad Men cast, and it was me and Nathan Fillion and Tom Lennon and Pete Holmes versus, you know, John Hamm, Rich Sommer, Vince Kartheiser, and Jay Ferguson.
Where did you shoot it at?
We shot at the Roosevelt Hotel. Have you been to the Roosevelt?
Yeah.
They've got this place called the Spare Room. It's got 2 lanes. I mean, so we shot it there. And we've done a bunch of them on the web there. We bowled against the Breaking Bad cast and Walking Dead cast and Conan and Fallon. And so it's been really fun.
Did you want to follow in your father's footsteps? You want to be a bowler?
When I was a kid, yeah, I used to bowl. I mean, I bowled 5 hours. I mean, I grew up in a bowl. My mother's father owned a bowling center, and I believe that's how my parents met. The details might be more sordid than I want, so I never ask exactly how they met. But my dad was a touring pro. My mom's dad owned a bowling center, and somehow they hooked up. And so my whole childhood was bowling.
Is bowling similar to a foul shot in basketball in that the pins are always in the same place, the ball is the same,
Yeah.
the distance is the same?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is and it isn't. I mean, on a bowling lane, you know, you can adjust. You can start back, you can start forward, you can adjust, you know, for the one thing that you don't have with basketball is there's a changing oil pattern on the lane. And so as the oil wears, because otherwise the ball, because of the, you know, the rotation would fly off the lane into the gutter. So the oil keeps the ball sliding. That's why it's not a strength game, it's a game of precision and momentum. So it's...
Are they athletes or skilled?
That's a good question. I think some of them are athletes and some of them are skilled. You know,
your father was an athlete.
My dad was, yeah. In the '60s, these guys were pretty badass. Don Carter, Dick Weber, my dad. You know, these guys were badass.
Chris Hardwick on the new Star Wars film when we get back. We're back with Chris Hardwick. You're a huge Star Wars fan. What do you think about J.J. Abrams directing the new one?
Now, you say that, and I did not know you were going to ask me that, and I did bring my Chewbacca notebook, which makes this noise when you open it.
You're a sick man.
I am a deranged individual.
Yes.
But somehow I've managed to build a career out of that.
J.J. Abrams.
I'm excited about it because here's the thing that I think we do a lot in our culture now is that, and I don't fault us as human beings, but there's so much data coming in at all times that I think people now judge things based on a word or a headline or very few actual facts about what's going on. So some people might see J.J. Abrams Star Wars, well, that's going to be awesome, or that's not going to be awesome at all. And it's like, you know what? I would like to encourage people to experience things and then judge them. I like JJ. He's a nice guy. I know he's passionate about Star Wars. Let's see how he does. Maybe he'll knock it out of the park. Maybe he won't, but we won't know until we see it.
Sometimes you could be too passionate and not do a good job.
It's possible.
What do you think of the cast?
Well, I mean, listen, my dad took me to see the original Star Wars in the theater. So that will always be a part of my molecular makeup. And so hearing that Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill and all these bands, we pitched a show with Mark. He's a sweet guy, loves to talk about it. He's not crappy about it in any way. He's lovely. And so I'm excited. I want to see these characters again, you know? Like it's
They're going to come back as older versions of themselves?
I would assume so.
All right, what are your thoughts on, there was a big reaction, I understand, on the title of the new Superman-Batman movie. It's called Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Dawn of Justice, yeah.
People say they don't like it.
I know, but people
Why?
always say they
What
don't
do you
like
care?
it. You know why? Because the louder voices on the internet are always the negative ones. Because anger and hate is a more powerful motivator to action than, oh, that sounds nice. Like if I think, oh, that sounds nice, I'm not going to go to the internet and write that.
What does V mean?
Versus. Batman versus Superman.
Oh, but are they going to be enemies in this?
Well, what I would assume is that there would be some fighting, and then they would be like, wait, we're on the same side. We both didn't know our real fathers. We're both orphans.
Except Batman don't have superpowers.
Batman does not. He just has a super brain. He's the world's greatest detective.
He's also very disturbed.
He's a dark individual.
Much more disturbed than Clark.
He's a molecule away from being Dexter.
Since we don't prejudge, you have no opinion on Ben Affleck then as Batman.
You know, that's another thing. You know,
Let's see how he does.
I like Ben. Maybe he'll do a great. You know, because listen, I think people forget that before Iron Man came out and started the whole Marvel chain of events, Iron Man was not a character that was in the forefront of comics at the time. He was a character, but he wasn't.
Just a character.
And Robert Downey Jr. was almost unemployable at the time.
Right.
And everyone was like, what? Iron Man? Are you kidding me? And then it came out. And it was like, holy crap, Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. So I love to be surprised by people, and I love to get excited about things. So until I see
By
it,
the way,
you know.
since you have the thing on most of the time,
Yeah.
how could you be a bad Batman?
I know, as long as you
jump around, you jump into your car.
That's right. As long as when you're Batman, you're talking like this all the time.
That's right.
Then you're fine. Can you do a good Batman voice?
No, my son does.
See, you just did it right there.
You think he had a good relationship?
No, I think you got it. Yeah.
You think he had a weird relationship with Robin?
Maybe, you know, it's tough to say. You know, he found a circus orphan and then put him in tights.
Is Robin in the movie?
I'm not judging.
Okay.
I don't know.
When you were last here, you said a lot of comics have problems. It's sort of like Pagliacci laugh, clown, laugh, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, for whatever reason, there's this interesting confluence of the comedy attracts a certain type of personality, and it also creates a lot of personality issues at the same time.
Neil Simon said most humor is based on tragedy.
Well, of course, we talked about this before the cameras were rolling about how
I asked you how'd your father die, and you laughed.
I giggled because it's such an awful thought to me that I can't help but express it comedically, because that's my defense mechanism. But I've been writing stand-up about my dad's death and trying to find that line between what people in an audience can handle when you talk about death and laugh versus, like, what's human about it? Like, we're all going to do it at some point. Why can we not find ways to, as a community, go, hey, this thing sucks, but we're going to laugh about it because we have no choice?
We're going to do a bit about Will Wheaton soon, but we recently had him on the show.
I love Will. We sort of came up together.
Is he more normal than you, or how would you compare the two of you as nerd versus geek?
I love Will, and I feel like Will has so much more of the nerd crown than I have. I mean, you know, I feel like I'm an early adopter to stuff, but Will is like an early adopter. So the guy was blogging in the year 2000.
When Will was on the show, we asked him a few questions about you.
Okay.
See how well he really knows you.
All right.
You answer it, we'll see what he says.
Okay. Oh, it's like newlyweds.
That's right. How do you both spend a typical Friday night at UCLA?
How do we spend it? Oh, that's easy. We would drink beer and watch Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Probably watching Ren and Stimpy or Mystery Science Theater on videotape.
Oh, you were swingers. Okay. Favorite board game?
Oh, man. My favorite board game? Or a board game that we played
Your
together?
Your favorite board game? Or you played together? Whatever.
Well, geez.
What would he say is your favorite board game?
I don't know. I think his is probably Cards Against Humanity, but it's not really a board game. It's a card game. But, I mean, D&D, we both played D&D. Not really a board game, but sort of a board game.
What did he say?
Dragon Age RPG.
Yeah, okay. So D&D and Dragon Age, they're both
All right, you got it.
playing games.
And finally, best sci-fi movie.
Best sci-fi movie? Oh, how could you do that to me? I mean, look, Star Wars to me was a huge, but Ghostbusters and Back to the Future were two movies that in my...
I was in Ghostbusters, so...
Yeah, I know you were in Ghostbusters. Some people say these men are the cause of it all. I remember your scene.
Sitting with the cigarettes.
Yes, the cigarettes here on the...
Dan Aykroyd wrote that for me.
Oh my God, yeah. I was gonna freak out about you on the show about that, but anyway, yeah.
Favorite sci-fi movie?
I don't know. I would have to say either Star Wars, Ghostbusters, or Back to the Future.
What did he say?
I wonder if he's going to go Star Wars. Would Chris go Star Wars?
Did Chris go Star Wars?
I think he might, I think he might go... I think he's going to go original Star Wars, 1977 Star Wars.
Star Wars. You hit him all right.
Yeah, Will and I know each other pretty well.
And when we come back, Chris will show us one of his hidden talents. Don't go away. We're back with Chris Hardwick. When Will was on the show, we touched upon net neutrality.
Yes.
And what's going to happen. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't know what's going to happen, but I just hope that the internet stays equal and free. I mean, like, and open and not tiered for everyone. I mean, it is such a way. I mean, it's almost the internet to our culture now is almost like oxygen in the sense that this is how we live now.
Where's social media going? Can you predict, or is it impossible?
Well, it's not. Yeah, well, it is impossible to know what scores of people are going to do, but I feel like, there was a social media explosion that happened in the mid-2000s, and I think what I've seen happen in the internet is the early days of the internet, people were in America Online, which was essentially a walled garden. And then they ventured out of the walls to see the Wild West World Wide Web. And then now they're venturing back into the walled gardens of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and app-based communication. So, I don't know. I feel like people will just want more and more to surround themselves with their very, very, very specific needs and very, very, very specific inner circles. And I don't know what platforms are going to emerge to do that, but I do believe that we are essentially slowly just isolating ourselves to our own little corner of the world.
How about when you see Netflix, Hulu, where we're on now, Hulu?
Sure. Yeah.
TV website. Is appointment viewing gone when you can watch anything whenever you want?
I think appointment viewing has largely faded away, which is why it's really interesting that there are still shows like Walking Dead that people, when you see event programming that sort of feels like event-based programming, people do feel compelled to watch because they don't want to miss out. They don't want anything spoiled.
Mostly sports.
Sports or shows like Game of Thrones or Walking Dead or, like when Breaking Bad was on.
TV always going to be around?
I think it will merge with, because essentially you have two cables going into your house now,
right.
And eventually it'll be one cable, and I think the great equalizer will be who makes that device that gets, a wide adoption rate. I think, Microsoft is trying to do that with Xbox, Roku Box, Apple.
Tell me about your podcast. I was on.
You've been on it, yeah.
Was I good?
You were great. When you get people talking about stuff that they're passionate about, and we talked a lot about comedy, and people just light up. We just had Morgan Freeman on, and he was amazing, and it has become the most, and also, I podcasted my dad the year before he died. Just as I happened to be in Memphis, and I'm like, I have the equipment, I'll just record a conversation. And it was the single most important thing that I've ever done in my relationship with my dad, and now I have it. But to be able to talk to someone for an hour on a human level and understand how they process the world and what they care about, like that to me is such a better experience than...
Podcast won't make radio disappear, will it?
Well, it won't. I mean, again, it's very similar to internet and television, in the sense that if there's a device in your car that it ultimately makes a seamless transition between, web content and radio content.
Well, if you can put the hook into the phone, you can.
Yeah, and that is happening. Cars are becoming hotspots. Apple has a new system that's coming into a handful of automobiles. So
you invited Tom Hanks. Did you send him a typewriter?
Yeah, Tom Hanks. One of our bookers actually found out that Tom loved vintage typewriters. So we found a 1934 Smith Corona. I typed out an invitation on our letterhead and sent the letter in the typewriter to him, never expecting to hear back. And a few weeks later, I got a letter that he typed on that typewriter, which was the most Tom Hanksian response that you could ever want.
What did he say?
It basically said, "Dear Chris and all the Nerdist folks, how dare you think you can bribe me with this 1934 Smith Corona? What do you think I am? I mean, it does type well, the typeface is nice, the font is, oh, fine, I'll do it." It was just this wonderful...
Did he do it?
He did. He's done it twice. And can I just say one thing about you on the podcast? One of the most gratifying things to me that made me feel like, oh my God, podcasting is fun. I think I might be doing something right. We came in and you said, I only have a half an hour. And I go, oh, usually they're like 45 minutes, 50 minutes. You go, yeah, I know, but I got to go. And I go, okay, fine. And we started talking. We got to a half an hour. And you were like, no, let's keep going. And that to me sort of felt like, oh, you're engaged in this. Like you could have split, but you let it go to the 45 minutes, 50 minutes.
Well, it was a lot of fun.
I appreciate that.
Okay, I understand you have a hidden talent. You're going to show me how did you come to be a juggler?
Well, it's not something I really talk about a lot, Larry.
Peaches.
I happen to have Peaches with me.
But how did you come to be a juggler?
Okay, when I was in college, I worked at a country club, and Peter Scolari was a member at that country club. We became pals. He invited me to go visit him on the set of the Newhart show, and I sort of became like his little buddy, like his Robin. And so I used to have lunch almost every day my freshman year of college with him, Bob Newhart, Tom Poston. Peter was a juggler, and so Peter taught me how to juggle. I, in turn, taught Will Wheaton how to juggle, and then when Will and I were roommates, we were juggling fiends. No women in sight anywhere, but lots of juggling. Okay, the trick is you always just, when you're juggling three, you always just want to keep one in the air, right? So it doesn't matter how you do that. I'm not a great juggler, by the way, but there are different types of ways to do that. If I were standing up, I might be able to catch this peach behind my back. You can do a flourish. When you're juggling five, you want to try it now? Okay, great. There you go.
Oh, you got to keep one in the air.
That's all you got to do is just keep one in the air. Well, technically, that was one in the air.
We'll be right back with more of Chris
Three in the
Hardwick.
air.
I never made it.
It's not too late.
We're back with Chris Hardwick. We have social media questions for you, right up your alley.
Oh, fantastic.
BJ Wanlund, any plans for more comedy specials?
Yes, I'm actually. My week basically is, you know, all the other stuff I do, and then Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays I try to go do comedy on the road. So I'm building a new hour right now, and I hope to shoot the special early next year.
Chia Michiela wants to know, what's the biggest misconception about you?
That I'm a douchebag. But I look like a douchebag, though, Larry. I do look like I would be douchey.
What does a douchebag look like?
Me. I mean, you know, like I sort of have like the scruffy hair and the, you know, I don't
Regular
know.
white, although you got a thin tie.
I do have I have a skinny tie on. I sort of look like an annoying hipster, but I think I'm a pretty nice guy. Like I
like you.
I appreciate that. I try to be inclusive and supportive of.
At Tim Drake, with your first book success, have you thought about writing a follow-up?
I've thought about it, but writing a book is, to me, a tremendous emotional undertaking because it's until the second you're done, it's always sitting in the back of your head, taking up emotional real estate.
I've done 16 of them, and they're all the same.
It's all well.
I mean, they're same in that what takes out of you.
I just don't know if I have the extra space in my brain to do that right now.
At Chad Soul, who would you kill off first in the new season of The Walking Dead?
The zombies. What a stupid question.
All the zombies?
All the zombies, and then from then on,
that would end the show.
Yeah, no. Then it just turns into a sitcom where they all try to figure out how to live together.
At RyeGuy695, of your many nerd interests, which takes up the most time?
Probably at midnight, I would imagine, because that's, you know, we do 4 shows a week. And so that's going in the morning and building the show, and, you know, then I do podcasts in the middle of the day, then we rehearse, then we make the show, and, you know, get up again and do it the next day. But although I will say that running Nerdists lives with me all the time, so maybe that too.
At Layla Livingston, is there a fandom you still want to start or join?
Is there a fandom I want to start or join? I don't know if I want to. Oh man, a fandom. I don't know. I don't think so. I think
You don't have to have it.
Okay, good. Nerds for Larry King? I don't
And
know.
last, at Philly Cheese, have you ever been a bowling shark like the one Woody Harrelson played in Kingpin?
I actually had a conversation with my dad about this when that movie came out. And he goes, it was a cute movie. I mean, you know, that's not really what it was like to hustle. I hustled on the road. I go, yeah, I know, Dad. There aren't Amish people bowling. It was a movie. But no, I never hustled people.
We play a game if you only knew. I throw out questions, you throw out answers.
Okay.
First girl you kissed.
First girl I kissed. Oh, geez. It was a neighbor girl, I think, and she was like 2 years older than me, and I don't know.
What city?
I think it was Miami. My grandparents lived in Miami, and I must have been like 11 or 12.
She was 13?
Something like that, yeah.
Wow, did she attack you?
She kind of did, a little
Remember
bit.
her name?
I wish I did.
Okay.
I don't.
Funniest Comic-Con story?
Funniest Comic-Con story. Well, I mean, this, you know, not to disparage the poor guy, but this struck me as kind of charming. I saw a guy dressed as Wolverine one year, and he was walking by all tough. He had the claws and everything, and then he stopped and then took a hit on his asthma inhaler. Which, you know anything about Wolverine, he regenerates, and so is, to me, the disparity between those things.
What superhero would you want to be?
I have the Spider-Man dream a lot.
You do?
I have the Spider-Man dream a lot. I constantly just, like, shooting webs out of my arms.
Therefore, the next question was, what superpower would you like to have?
I have thought about this a lot. I think maybe it would be the Wolverine regeneration. I think I would want to have the
I'd like
regeneration.
to be invisible, like the Shadow. Now, that wasn't a comic book, but
Only the Shadow knows.
who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men. Marvel Comics or DC?
Well, I'm not going to pick a side of that. I enjoy both of them. I know that sounds like a politician answer, but I really do enjoy both of them.
Superman or Batman?
Well, you mean like who would win in a fight? Who do I think
like
would win in a
Batman
fight?
only because he didn't have superpowers, because Batman had to deal with his own dark troubles, but he couldn't fly.
Well, that's the thing, is that, you know, Batman seems to have more depth because he was born from tragedy. Superman
came from a planet.
Basically is, you know, a lovable jock. You know,
Superman's more a nerd.
Superman? No, I think Batman's more of a nerd than Superman.
Clark Kent is a nerd.
Clark Kent, that's a fake persona, though. He's disguising himself
as a nerd.
And of course, everyone is completely confounded when the glasses go on. Like, oh, you don't look like that guy with the same height and the same bone structure.
That always amazed me.
I think they tried to explain that in the comic books, by the way.
Favorite villain?
Oh, favorite villain of any villain?
Pick any villain.
Oh my gosh! Oh, I wish I had some time to prepare this. Favorite villain? Oh man, I don't know, Larry. I'm stumped. There's like 19 things.
Mine goes back a long way, but
who's yours?
Jack Palance in Shane.
Oh wow!
With the black glove.
That's a good one.
With Alan Ladd.
That's a good one. I still didn't answer your question.
All right, you don't have to. Favorite hero?
Favorite hero, like superhero or comedy hero? Well, do they have
to be Charles Lindbergh?
Well, I'll tell you, my personal hero was always Steve Martin.
That's fine.
Because when I grew up, like I was raised on all the Steve Martin albums. I was obsessed with Steve Martin. He was my gateway into comedy, and so he's always been sort of my.
He deserves that. Favorite video game?
My favorite video game of all time, probably Super Mario Brothers 3.
Favorite TV show of all time?
I guess it's got to be Doctor Who. I think it's got to be Doctor Who. Yeah.
Hoverboard or shrink ray?
Hoverboard.
Firefly or Serenity?
Well, I mean, they're both pieces of the same puzzle, really. I mean,
you're so analytical. You're so nerdish.
I'm sorry.
What do you want written on your tombstone?
I want. Can I swear on this?
Mm-hmm.
I would write "eat my," but in binary, so that no one else would know exactly what it was. But they would just see a bunch of ones and zeros, and they'd have to translate it and be like, "Someone put 'eat my," in binary on this tombstone.
Mine would be oldest man who ever lived. Thank you, man.
Good to see you, Larry King.
Always great.
Thank you so much.
You want me back on the podcast?
Would you please come back on the podcast?
I want to thank my guest, Chris Hardwick. Make sure you watch At Midnight, Monday through Thursdays, 12 a.m. on Comedy Central. And you can hear the Nerdist podcast and learn all things Nerdist at Nerdist.com. And remember, you can find me on Twitter at Kingstings. We'll see you next time.
I'd like to thank my host, Larry King, who had me as a guest on The Larry King Show. Please watch Larry King now on Hulu.
That was so nerd.